Again, trade paperback, Kankoban, lots of different stuff. But basically, an adult graphic novel is a comic book with a spine. So it can be a collection of serialized comics, like single-issue comic books, including webcomics. It can be part of an ongoing narrative, one volume of many. It can be a complete story in one book. It can be short stories. It can be fiction, fantasy, romance, or whatever else. It can be non-fiction, memoirs, reporting, other stuff. It can be manga. It's a medium. It's not a genre. I'm not even really sure where I'm here. So, what I'll do today is you've all got handouts hopefully, and I've got some resources on one side and a bunch of recommendations of different genres on the other. So I'm going to run through a little bit of stuff from resources, and I'll also give a description of some of the books. So in comics, one thing that's important to remember is that publishers matter. The comics industry is made up of many small publishers and a couple of really big ones. But if you're looking at anything other than superhero comics, you're probably looking at a fairly small publisher that doesn't release that many books every year. So self-publishing is also not frowned upon. So that's becoming less the case with digital publishing. But for a long time in the book trade, if something was self-published, it was probably garbage. In comics, that stigma does not exist to the same extent, and people self-publish books all the time that win awards and are highly acclaimed. Publishers will release work in multiple genres, but will still have a distinct feel. So the small publishers will not necessarily release a lot of work, but what they do might be science fiction and romance and everything, but they still will have a sort of unified feel to them all. Readers trust certain publishers to produce work of a certain quality that they're interested in. And so that leads to the next one. A reader might buy the new comic from a publisher without knowing much or anything about it because they trust that publisher specifically. And I think that kind of, like, most people don't walk into a bookstore or a library going, I want the new Penguin novel. But they might walk into a comic book store saying, hey, what's the new Vertigo title? We'll check that out. So, go through fantasy. So up here you've got Fables on the left-hand side of the screen, and this is like fairy tale characters living in New York City, trying to blend in and dealing with problems and bad guys that are trying to get them and stuff. It's including the main series and spin-offs. There's 35 volumes of this so far, and more come out every year, so it's a pretty big one. On the right-hand side is Nausicaa Valley of the Wind, which is by Hideo Miyazaki, who is also an animation director who's done films like Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro, and Princess Mononoke. Nausicaa Valley of the Wind is a pretty epic science fiction fantasy story set in a post-apocalyptic world where that's being environmentally destroyed. There's a female main character. It's pretty awesome. Science fiction, Why the Last Man, on the left-hand side by Brian K. Vaughan and Pia Guerra, who is from Vancouver, is a story about a plague or something that kills every male on Earth except for one guy and his monkey. So it's a 10-volume series about him traveling around the world and interacting with the only female populations that still exist and trying to figure out what's going on. It's interesting. Saga on the right-hand side is his newest book, which is a sort of space opera. He described it as Game of Thrones except in space. Horror. Hellboy on the left is a big one. It has also something like 35 or 40 volumes, including all the spin-offs. So comic series can get pretty big, and so if you get someone hooked, like they won't come back to you for a while if they're reading all of them. But it's got a lot of monsters and stuff, but it's kind of more superhero action-y in that it's about Hellboy is this big demon guy. He punches monsters in the face a lot. It's kind of fun. Lock and Key is more psychological than that, but it's also a very popular recent series from IDW. The 6th volume is just about to finish out. It's pretty cool. Joe Hill is also a well-known horror writer. He's written like actual fiction prose books, and he's Stephen King's son. Uzumaki on the right-hand side is a Japanese comic by Junji Ito. It was just released in a brand new version this week or last week as well. It is the comic that made me realize that comics could actually be scary. I never thought that that was possible before I read that one. And it does it in a way that's incredibly creepy without being overly gory. Crime. The one on the left is by Edward Baker and Sean Phillips, who are pretty big. It's called Criminal. It says Coward really big, but that's the subtitle of the book. And it's just a kind of would fit in perfectly into the noir presentation that was done earlier. From Hell was also turned into a movie. It's by Alan Moore, who is probably more known for doing stuff like doing the comics with Watchmen and V for Vendetta and all that stuff. And it's a Jack the Ripper story that is incredible, quite long and incredibly detailed. There's a lot of annotations and bibliographic information. He really did his research for this one. It kind of ruined every other Jack the Ripper story for me, because this one is just so good. And on the right-hand side is Scalped by Jason Aaron and R.M. Guerra. And this is another 10-volume series about crime and drugs and lots of stuff on an Aboriginal reserve in America. Superhero comics. These are the big things when people think of comics most of the time. And some of them, like Superman, most people know, the one that's there is All-Star Superman. This is a really great one to recommend to people if you're recommending superheroes, because it's just 2 volumes long. It's a standalone series. It doesn't really interact with any other comics that exist, whereas a lot of superhero comics are big, expansive universes. The one in the middle is The Umbrella Academy by Gerard Way and Gabriel Ba, and it's more kind of an interesting take on superheroes. It's about these kids that got superpowers in their childhood, and they grew up and kind of like screwed up and messed up and kind of ruined their lives. And it's about them as adults. The one on the right-hand side is Top 10. That's another one by Alan Moore, and this is about a world where everybody is a superhero, but it's a police crime comic. So it's about the police that investigate crimes on the superhero world. And some of these things can be interviewing somebody about their own murder, because they might have come back to life. Just general fiction is also something that exists in comics. The one on the left is Asterios Polit. I don't really know how to pronounce it, by David Mazzucchelli. It came out a few years ago and was a very big thing. It's really interesting because he actually started out as a superhero artist, but he's gone into this more interesting fiction, general fiction stuff. He's also done an adaptation of Paul Auster's works, which is pretty cool to check out. The one in the middle is Aya. This is a really neat series because it's written by someone who is from Côte d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast in Africa, and it's all about living in Africa in Côte d'Ivoire in the 1970s. It's a really cool look into just the kind of day-to-day life in that time period and place. The Tale of One Bad Rat on the right-hand side is about a homeless youth in England. And it's kind of depressing, but also kind of happy, so it's I don't know, like a lot of books like that, I guess. Memoirs and Non-Fiction are a big thing. Here's a whole bunch of them. Hideo Azuma, on the left-hand side, is a Japanese creator, and that's Disappearance Diary, and he is, his job is a manga artist, but he also has done comics about how being a manga artist has made him really depressed and kind of screwed him up in some ways. And so he did this comic about how he ran away from home and left his wife and went and became a homeless person for a while. It's really fascinating, and it's done in a really kind of interesting, not happy, but like not super depressed style either. So he'll be like, oh yes, and then I almost froze to death. And it's not a big deal, but it's still interesting. Epileptic by David Biep is a French graphic novel about him growing up with his brother who has epilepsy, and it goes the entire way from his childhood up to adult. And it's a really fascinating look at epilepsy. Safer Garage is by Joe Sacco. Joe Sacco is actually in Vancouver next week giving a talk. He's an amazing journalism graphic novelist, and he does comics about this. This is one of the series he's done about the former Yugoslavian war that happened in the Balkans. And he's also done ones about Palestine, and he's done comics about like Afghanistan and Iraq and stuff too. His stuff is fantastic. It's also very heavily researched, and he has a style that I think is really cool. One of the far right is Psychiatric Tales by Daryl Cunningham. He worked in hospitals and mental institutions and stuff, and so it talks about different psychiatric problems that people have, mental health disorders, and also about specific people that he encountered. And it's really neat look at mental health, I think. Another big thing in comic books is the extensions of TV and film series. So you've got a bunch of these: Buffy, Serenity, Star Wars. These are all not just based on the comics, but expand the universe in general, which is really big for people. There's a bunch of stuff that's been adapted from comics to films. Here are some of them. You probably know about them. Printed comics. There's Game of Thrones comics. There's Girl with the Dragon Tattoo comics. There's lots of stuff. How to find good popular graphic novels, previews, awards, bestseller lists, reviews, and more. These are all on the handout I gave you. Here's a great example. Comixology is a digital comic thing. Sadly, libraries can't use it, but you can sign up for a free account, and you can read comics for free on it. Some of them, at least. You have to buy a lot of them, but they do have a lot of free comics here. So you've got Saga, you've got The Walking Dead, you've got Y the Last Man. These are just the first issues, but they will give you a taste of what it is like. So But yeah, hopefully that's a kind of introduction to graphic novels for you. If you have any questions, my email address is on the thing I gave you.